Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America, and all the ships at sea. Gentrification. Have many of you ever heard this word or even understand the meaning of it? Well, ladies and gents, gentrification is defined as the transformation of urban neighborhoods due to an influx of more affluent residents, leading to higher property values and living costs. This process often displaces long-time lower-income residents, unfortunately. Have many under the sound of my voice ever seen it in practice? Well, it seems that many in Los Angeles, California may have been the unwitting victims of systemic gentrification by their own same-skin-colored Democratic mayors and Democratic governors for decades, all while they slept not so soundly at night and their economic plight in life worsened before their bewildered eyes. Unfortunately, here in the good old USA, many people of African ancestries have historically been led by family and friends to believe that voting for their skin color was the solution to all the ills of society. Poverty. That was instilled by the white man, so vote for the black politician. He's got your back. Sad to say, folks, but it has worked that way for generations, all the way back to 1870. Now, I cannot say that voting for one's own skin color has not perhaps benefited some over the course of history, but I also believe firmly and think you will agree that voting solely for one's own skin color, at least in modern times, regardless of where a specific candidate stands on important issues, is most certainly a recipe for disaster. Additionally, I have witnessed personally Americans of African ancestry who still to this very day insist that the Democratic Party is the best and will never consider anything else. Ask these what reasoning that is based upon, and often almost nonsensical answers will spew forth along the lines of, quote, "Well, I ain't never seen a Republican that cared a lick for the poor man," unquote. Kids and cousins, I will leave that one there and get back to the topic on which I intended for this video, the gentrification of Los Angeles, California. I will begin with a primer in the history of Los Angeles. It was founded on September 4, 1781 by 44 settlers known as Los Pobladores, or the settlers in English. It is sometimes reported that 26 of these settlers were of African descent, but I also have a difficult time believing that in 1781, as the burgeoning African slave trade had not been well established to the continental Americas just quite yet, that was more set in the Caribbean countries at that point. Despite people of African ancestry having most likely founded and built Los Angeles on their blood, sweat, and tears for over a century, beginning in the 1930s, districted maps had been drawn whereby historically black neighborhoods were marked as, quote, dangerous for investment by the wealthier classes. Like many mixed ethnicity urban areas, Los Angeles suffered with its fair share of racially motivated prejudice and discrimination, and that from all sources. You had whites hating Mexicans, Mexicans hating Guatemalans, blacks hating whites, and on it went. During the 1930s, many families of white Americans displaced from the Great Plains by the Dust Bowl disaster headed westward and ended up in Los Angeles, among other California locales. This only added to the racial tensions, as many ended up in poorer historically black and Latino neighborhoods, effectively displacing some from those established ethnic groups from their properties. In the midst of all that, Los Angeles had the Zoot Suit riots of 1943. Basically, off-duty Marines, soldiers, and sailors would beat up young men of Hispanic ethnicity simply because they wore the Zoot Suits associated with mobsters. The Zoot Suit riots lasted about a week and displayed for the nation the simmering racial tensions in the Los Angeles area for really the first time. Fast forward to August 11, 1965, and the Watts riots occurred for 6 heated days. These resulted from the traffic stop of a man of African ancestry by a state police officer of European ancestry, during which progressed into a violent altercation, and one which caught national attention and resulted in 6 days of rioting, burning, and looting by many blacks who saw their plight as discriminated against by government and police authorities. Onward we go, viewers, from those riots to March 3, 1991. Black Los Angeles motorist Rodney King led police on an 8-mile chase, then was brutally beaten by 4 white Los Angeles police officers, and it was all caught on camera by a bystander. The beating made national news, and all 4 officers stood trial for the incident. The now infamous trial culminated on April 29, 1992, when a jury of 10 whites, 1 Hispanic, and 1 Asian acquitted the police officers of all charges except for one on which they hung the decision. What followed were rioting, looting, arson, pillaging, and even snipers shooting at LA firemen who came to put out the various fires. The entire melee lasted until May 5, 1992, when Mayor Tom Bradley finally lifted the dusk to dawn curfew law. What do we make of all this, my loyal viewers? Well, that would be that Los Angeles, California has unfortunately been a racial tension power keg for at least a century, if not longer. And what else has happened to the black population of Los Angeles during that time, and especially of late? Why, viewers, that would be none other than the gentrification of its historically black districts, as Hispanics and others with more monetary means are brought in to buy up properties and displace poorer black families. In fact, the rate of black homelessness in Los Angeles under the reign of current Mayor Karen Bass and current California Governor Gavin Newsom has grown substantially. If you remember, viewers, the Los Angeles wildfires that tragically wiped out entire neighborhoods just earlier this year, it is a fact that the Los Angeles Fire Department proved woefully inadequate during that period, mostly due to the Santa Ynez water reservoir having been emptied during the brush fire season and multiple broken fire hydrants. All of this at the, quote, leadership of Black Mayor Bass, while her DEI-led fire department looked woefully inept. If this puppet had to place a guess, based upon visuals and facts, I would say that Newsom and Bass are not about helping their base constituents at all. You can see by this chart that homelessness in Los Angeles has steadily risen under the terrible reign of the Bass-Newsom duo, and particularly alarming is that while people of African ancestry make up only 9.4% of the metropolitan area's overall population, they undeservedly make up an estimated 32% of the same area's homeless population. Viewers, I don't know about you, but that should alarm everyone watching this video. That does not happen by accident. While the process of gentrification can happen organically, almost naturally, as people die off and families leave, investors step in and drive up property prices as they build and improve. It can also happen through careful planning by a city perhaps bent on elimination of, quote, undesirables, unquote. Do we in fact know for certain what has led to unmistakably elevated percentages of Los Angelinos of African ancestry being homeless of late? No. Can we say, though, that it has in fact happened largely under the democratic regimes of Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom? Absolutely. If you live in Compton, Crenshaw, Park-Windsor Hills, or Watts, and have noticed that many of your former neighbors are long gone, and that investors have in fact crept in and driven up property prices all around, did it all happen by sheer happenstance? One might think next time before voting next election based upon skin color or party affiliation as the utmost deciders of who are the best qualified candidates. Just saying. Good night, my loyal viewers, and sleep well.